What is America? A global superpower? A nation of immigrants? The land of opportunity? There is no single answer to that question. Before we attempt to define what America is, perhaps we should ask, what ideals and values have this community shared across generations? We set out to explore those answers, not in political speeches or textbooks, but in the stories we tell. In particular, we turn to the most iconic storytellers of modern America, Disney and Pixar. Since its founding in 1923, the Walt Disney Company has created timeless stories that have touched generations worldwide. Starting with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937, and followed by classics like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Frozen, and Moana, Disney films have become cultural landmarks, resonating across borders and eras. Pixar was originally an independent studio and began collaborating with Disney in 1991. Together, they produced many hit films such as Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., and Finding Nemo. In 2006, Disney officially acquired Pixar, integrating it into the company while allowing it to continue creating innovative and beloved films like Inside Out and Soul. Having been loved by audiences for many decades, Disney animations go beyond simple children's entertainment. The narrative structures, character conflicts, choices, and growth portrayed in each film are not mere fantasy, but can be read as cultural texts that reflect the spirit and social atmosphere of their respective eras in American society. In this sense, the works of Disney and Pixar serve as important cultural artifacts that offer insight into how the United States views itself and what values it seeks to pass on to future generations.
Since Disney is an American company, American values inevitably seep into its films, often unconsciously, even without the creators fully realizing it. Moreover, Disney intentionally embeds American morals and social norms that they want audiences to learn. These cultural elements sometimes appear quite overtly, and other times more subtly.
If Disney animations are more than mere entertainment, if they are cultural texts that repeatedly reflect American ideals and values, then in what historical context did these values become most prominent? We begin our analysis with the 1990s, a period often referred to as the golden age of Disney animation. The Disney Renaissance, which began in 1989, marked a second golden age for Disney animation. Fueled by a series of critically and commercially successful hand-drawn films, this era revitalized the studio's reputation, beginning with The Little Mermaid, 1989, followed by Beauty and the Beast, 1991, Aladdin, 1992, The Lion King, 1994, and Mulan, 1998. Disney animation found itself at the heart of cultural conversations and was soon dubbed the Disney Renaissance. The key narratives of Disney films in the 1990s can be categorized into four major themes. 1. Family. 2. Inner values such as identity, autonomy, and freedom. 3. Female-centered storytelling. 4. And attempts toward cultural inclusivity. First, family. While the United States emerged as a global superpower after the Cold War, the rapid pace of globalization and technological innovation in the 1990s brought widespread uncertainty. Amid this backdrop, American society revisited traditional values such as family and community. Disney's The Lion King encapsulates this with its central theme of the circle of life, emphasizing generational bonds and natural cycles. Simba's journey to overcome the loss of his father, Mufasa, becomes a tale rooted deeply in familial identity. 2. Identity, autonomy, and freedom. At the same time, the Reagan-era ideals of individualism and neoliberalism remained strong. These values were reflected in Disney narratives that increasingly centered on themes of personal agency and self-determination. In Beauty and the Beast, 1991, Belle sacrifices her comfort to make her own decisions, embodying the spirit of autonomy.
Starting from The Little Mermaid through to Mulan, Disney's female characters became more independent and complex. Unlike in earlier decades, they now express deeper emotional arcs and made significant decisions on their own. However, many narratives still concluded with male figures playing a pivotal role in resolving the conflict, limiting full autonomy. Additionally, while films like Aladdin, Pocahontas, and Mulan attempted to represent diverse cultures, they were often criticized for perpetuating stereotypes and engaging in cultural appropriation.
Now, based on this context of 1990s America, we will analyze The Little Mermaid, the film that launched the Disney Renaissance. Through its narrative structure and keyword-based script analysis, we will explore how core American values are embedded in the story. Now, based on this context of 1990s America, we will analyze The Little Mermaid, the film that launched the Disney Renaissance. Through its narrative structure and keyword-based script analysis, we will explore how core American values are embedded in the story.
Released in 1989, The Little Mermaid tells the story of Ariel, a young mermaid who longs for the human world and sets out to find love.
Then Flounder will splash around to get his attention, and then we'll
Down
go...
here is your home. Ariel, listen to me. The human world, it's a mess. Life under the sea.
This narrative table shows how Ariel's journey, driven by desire, choice, and self-realization, mirrors core American ideals of freedom and identity. The text analysis was conducted with a focus on agency and autonomy, extracting only core nouns and verbs while excluding character names and stopwords. Among the most prominent keywords is love, which functions as the emotional core of the narrative. Ariel's love for Prince Eric motivates her to pursue a new identity and ultimately reshapes her entire life. It's not just romantic, it redefines her selfhood. Human reveals Ariel's longing to be more than just physically human. Her famous line, "I want to be where the people are," reflects a deeper yearning to redefine her identity and escape the limitations of her underwater world. Voice is not merely a tool for speech, but a powerful symbol of Ariel's agency. Losing her voice signifies more than silence. It reflects the loss of her right to express and define herself. Contract highlights the cost of choice. Ariel's deal with Ursula reminds us that in American ideology, freedom often comes with personal responsibility and consequence. Free captures Ariel's desire to liberate herself from both Triton's control and Ursula's manipulation, symbolizing her fight for autonomy. These 5 keywords, love, human, voice, contract, and free, reveal that The Little Mermaid centers around the themes of love, identity, and freedom. Unconditional love, the pursuit of identity through voice and human, and the struggle for autonomy through contract and freedom all reflect Ariel's internal growth. Ultimately, The Little Mermaid is a journey of self-determination and identity, a story where Ariel escapes a controlled world, takes risks, and establishes her place on her own terms. Through themes of sacrifice and responsibility, the film expresses American values of individual freedom, self-determination, and identity acceptance.
Released in 1992, Aladdin appears at first to be a fantasy adventure set in a distant land. But beneath the surface lies a distinctly American story, one that reflects ideals of freedom, identity, and the transformative promise of the American dream. Aladdin begins as a poor orphan, labeled a street rat with no family, stealing to survive. And yet, he dreams of a better life, telling Abu, "Someday, things are gonna change. We'll be rich, live in a palace, and never have any problems at all." His journey reflects the American ideal that success is earned not by birth, but by courage, choice, and character. The genie's lamp offers him 3 wishes, 3 opportunities. Aladdin uses the first to become a prince, chasing both love and social legitimacy. But soon he admits, "I gotta tell Jasmine the truth, pretending to be something I'm not."
Aladdin's story may be set in a fictional kingdom, but its structure follows a distinctly American trajectory. The promise of reinvention, the struggle with authenticity, and the triumph of individual character are all hallmarks of the American dream.
A text analysis of Aladdin's dialogue highlights 5 dominant keywords. Wish, the story's central engine, expressing desire and the potential for change. Free, recurring theme tied to Genie's servitude, Jasmine's autonomy, and Aladdin's self-determination. Power, the temptation of control and dominance, as seen in Jafar. Truth, the turning point where Aladdin embraces honesty. Disguise, the tension between external image and internal identity. Through these words, the film reveals its core themes: wish, freedom, and identity. Jasmine demands freedom from tradition. I am not a prize to be won. Genie yearns to be free from the lamp. And Aladdin ultimately learns that pretending cannot bring real happiness. Be yourself, Genie reminds him, a moment that captures the heart of the film's message. In the end, Aladdin isn't just a fairy tale. It's a reflection of the American dream, where identity is chosen, freedom is earned, and transformation begins with belief in one's own worth. By the 2010s, American society began undergoing a profound shift. Where once the focus had been on personal freedom and achievement, the new era emphasized empathy, inclusion, and emotional well-being. And this transformation is clearly reflected in the changing themes and characters of Disney and Pixar films. On June 26, 2015, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a landmark decision. Same-sex marriage became legal across all 50 states. The 2015 Supreme Court ruling in Obergefell v. Hodges marked a turning point in how America understood gender and family. In the years following, Disney and Pixar began addressing LGBTQ+ identities more directly. Pixar's Short Out, 2020, featured a gay protagonist's coming-out story, while Strange World, 2022, included a teenage gay character, Ethan, as a major lead. Across the country, Black Lives Matter protests called attention to systemic racism and inequality, bringing issues of racial justice to the forefront of national dialogue. The rise of the Black Lives Matter movement in the mid-2010s reframed discussions of race and social justice in the United States. Disney and Pixar responded by creating films that spotlight diverse characters and cultures, like Soul, 2020, Raya and the Last Dragon, 2021, and Elemental, 2023, all of which placed multicultural identities at the center of their narratives. It's okay to not be okay? This phrase began trending widely on social media, capturing a broader shift in how Americans talked about mental health. That same year, Pixar's Inside Out, 2015, brought this message to life by personifying emotions and highlighting the complexity of the mind. It gave voice to a growing cultural awareness that mental health matters. Through characters like joy and sadness, the film offered a nuanced take on emotional intelligence and the importance of embracing vulnerability. In the past, freedom often meant escape from external control. But today, it's also about freedom from emotional suppression and denial of identity. Studios like Disney and Pixar have become cultural platforms that both reflect and shape this societal evolution. Today's animated films are more than just entertainment. They're emotional and social blueprints, mirroring a society that values diversity, empathy, and the quiet strength of inner peace. Throughout our exploration of American society in the 1990s and post-2010s, as well as the Disney and Pixar animations of each era, we have identified several recurring core values in the American cultural landscape. In the Renaissance era of the 1990s, themes such as family, freedom, and self-realization took center stage. Since the 2010s, however, the focus has shifted toward emotional acceptance and social diversity. While each era emphasizes different ideals, they all offer important clues about how America has imagined itself as a community. So, what truly defines American identity? Swedish economist Gunnar Myrdal once defined this identity as the American creed, a consistent ideal composed of liberty, equality, individualism, and equal opportunity. These ideals have been echoed across American institutions, from the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence to popular culture. Yet, America's national identity cannot be reduced to a single value or narrative. The cultures that existed long before 1776, the histories of various races and social classes, these layers defy any singular definition of identity. Instead, American identity may be better understood as a constructed narrative, an imagined structure continuously shaped and reshaped by each generation. As political theorist Benedict Anderson argues, a nation is not a tangible reality, but an imagined community, one that is sustained through language, education, media, and cultural content. In this context, Disney and Pixar animations can also be seen as cultural narratives that reflect how the U.S. wants to imagine itself. From classical ideals like freedom and self-realization to modern values such as emotional depth and diversity, these animations repeatedly highlight liberty, self-determination, equality, opportunity, inclusion, adventure, and the centrality of family. If that is the case, then perhaps these stories do not simply entertain, they articulate America's imagined ideals. What we need to do is observe which characters Disney and Pixar choose to create and what stories they decide to tell next. In doing so, we can begin to understand how America continues to reimagine its identity